Welcome to the Cross Border Interviews, the show where we dive into the insights of municipal political leaders from across Canada. Now, our mission on the show is quite simple. Shine a light on the dedicated individuals who day in and day out work around the council table to shape the communities that we call home. Now, we often conduct our interviews virtually, but from time to time, we get out from the studio and visit the communities and the people that we actually speak to on this show. And for today's episode, we did just that. We got out of the studio and headed to Coutts, Alberta, and spoke one-on-one with Coutts Councillor Jim Willet in the Village of Coutts Council Chambers. Across Canada, our cities, towns, villages, and rural communities are alive with stories waiting to be told. Stories of innovation and economic development, resilience in the face of the housing challenges, and the financial hurdles municipalities overcome every day. At the Cross Border Network, we bring these stories to life. From coast to coast to coast, we're connecting Canadians to the issues shaping our communities and showcasing the people working tirelessly to make them thrive. With your support, we can expand our reach, amplify more voices, and shine a light on the challenges and triumphs of municipal life. For as little as $3.99 a month, you can help us grow and continue sharing the stories that matter most. Join us today and be part of this important mission. Together, we can tell more stories, build stronger communities, and make a real difference. Support the Cross Border Network now. Visit www.crossborderinterviews.ca today. Councillor, thank you so much for sitting down with me, and thank you so much for inviting me into the Coutts Council Chambers. This is my second interview where I've actually done the interview from the council chambers. I want to start with a very simple question. And I think I'm prepared for a story, but I think it's an important story. Where did you get your sense of duty to serve your community from?
Well, we moved here, I retired here. And once you're retired, you start looking out your window and saying, well, how does all this work? And I basically wound up coming to council meetings and just seeing what was going on. I've always, you know that I could tell you a long story, but my background, my parents were fundamentalist Christians. They were always had a strong sense of community. So I blame my parents. But always, if you didn't like something, well, you did what needed to be done to get it fixed. And I've gone through life with that attitude, jobs that I've had and so on. Because of, I guess because of just the way things went, I found myself in charge lots of times of situations that seemed difficult, and I liked seeing if I could make things better. And so it seemed natural once we came here and I came to council. My next door neighbor at the time was the mayor, and talked to him off and on. Another of the councilors drove around town all the time, and he stopped out front and we talked about how things were. And so I wound up coming to council meetings. I was attending council as much as the councilors were, just not on an elected basis. And when the election came up in
2017? Because if you got here in 2013, the next one would have been 2017.
Yeah,
because it was that first 4-year term that they got elected to.
Yeah, so I ran for council in 2017, got the most votes, and became a councillor. And yeah, that's where I got to here.
So there's the initial question that I have to ask to sort of start the line of questioning is, why politics? Because you could have given back through nonprofits, you could have done many different routes. Were you the black sheep of the family to say, I'm going to go into politics? Had your mom or dad, had anyone in your family, do you know, go into politics? Or are you the black sheep and you thought, okay, if I'm going to give back, Jim's going to give back to municipal politics because that's the best level of government?
Well, I think it goes back to when you get to this level. We're a community of 225 people. Lots of times you hear that expression STP. It's the same 10 people that are doing everything.
Yep.
I think municipal politics at this level is as close to community as you can get. Somebody has to sign the checks and be in charge and make the decisions that keep the place running. And to be frank, when you get a community down to this size, you have passed critical mass, and you have to be very careful. It's because of luck or however you want to put it, that Coutts is in a position to continue to exist on a fairly comfortable way because of where we are and the port that sits right out there and the federal taxes that come in. A lot of communities in our
because the viability of a 250 resident village in 2025 is not there, but Coutts seems to have done it.
Yeah.
What's the magic sauce that council has been able to do to ensure? You talk about the taxes, which is always great, and I'm assuming if I talk to any councillor or mayor across Canada, they would go, "We wish we had more grants from the federal government." Is that what it is? Is that the secret sauce that's made Coutts a viable place? Because I've had many conversations with smaller rural urban municipalities, and they say, we can't do it. And we saw 2 this year dissolve into their county counterparts.
Well, that's, quite frankly, that's a discussion that has been had here in the past, not with me, but there has been people at different times saying, well, maybe we should just throw into the county and let the county of Warner worry about things. But no, I think, again, it's the sense of community, the people that live here. We've always had a nexus, at least on the council, of people who've lived here all their lives or close to it. And so there is that sense of, well, I don't know, civic pride or just we've always done this.
Worst thing you could say in municipal.
I know. But that is something that I have heard every day since I've been in this position, is that, well, you don't want to change anything. So we're walking a, this is going to wander all over, but
this is the great thing about this show. I'm the host. I can go wherever we want. So Jim, let's do it.
I came in obviously from outside.
Yeah.
And I'm still.
Do you consider yourself an outsider still? Because you've been on council, you've been mayor of the
I don't consider myself an outsider, but a lot of people do.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, when I don't have.
You don't have the DNA of Coutts when you were first born. And,
there you go.
And I can say the same thing. So when I ran for council in Alberta up in Fost, which is Big Lakes County, there was a lot of people who looked at me and said, you don't know what Fost wants. You're an outsider. You're someone who doesn't know and hasn't lived or breathed and worked here and raised it. But to go out in 2017 and get the most votes, they must have put their trust into you there, Jim.
Well... What I did was I actually campaigned. They'd not seen it. I'll get in trouble here, but no, I went out and went door to door. Not being from here, I thought that's the way you did it. And so people were, oh, somebody that has
A pulse and wants to actually.
maybe a new way of looking at things, because everyone that ran that year and that has run in the succeeding year has said, yeah, we're going to make some changes. We're going to clean up the derelict properties, or, see what we can do to get some business in here and so on. Everyone has said that.
But then they realize
time, and then nothing happens. We did finally get a bylaw while I was mayor to enable us to handle derelict properties. And we have the bylaw, and we have made threatening noises a little bit. But as far as getting action from people, getting buy-in from the people that own the properties and so on, haven't been able to do it. And a lot of it comes from, well, the reaction we got. Well, why you want us to do that? That's been that way for pick a time period.
100 years, 20 years, 50 years, 30 years. So you've been on council for 2 terms now.
Yeah.
So 2017 you got elected, 2021 you got reelected. We're going to talk about 2025 here in a few seconds, but I want to talk about your first 2 terms in office. Now, I have done enough of these shows where I've come to the realization that every municipal leader I speak to knows this saying. Every decision you make, every policy you vote on, every bylaw you vote on, not 100% of the people in your community will ever agree to that change or that policy. So besides talking about the policy, I want to talk about the decision making. How do you make that best decision for your community? Because we all have our internal moral compass that we believe is right. When you sit down here at this table and make those decisions on the best of your community, what do you base those decisions on? Let's talk about the derelict. So, because people may say, yeah, that's great. We need to clean up derelict houses that are a little overgrown and we need to change that. How do you ensure that you're making the best decision for everyone, knowing that some people are just never going to be happy with you, Jim?
Well, let's go back to what I know and what I can do. If you look at the community, I mentioned already that we're past the critical mass point where most villages would cease to exist as a functioning municipality. What we need, you're at this crunch point where, in order to make the community larger, which is what you need because you've got a lot of vacant places, people say, well, we need a convenience store. Well, as an example.
How many people say they want a Tim Hortons in Coutts?
Well, not many, although no, I can't say that. I'd get in trouble. Anyway, the thing is, pick a business. Somebody says we need a little business of some kind here. Businesses need employees. Employees need a place to live. You don't have a big employment base here because the population, bless their hearts, for the most part, are older. And so we don't have a lot of people that are looking to work a counter job at a convenience store.
These most people that live in Coutts work for the federal government or... Really?
Nope.
Really? I'm shocked at that, to be honest.
Don't be shocked. It's the federal policy to pay their employees to travel back and forth to Lethbridge because we don't have all of the necessities of life. And Milk River doesn't either, because Milk River, while having a pharmacy, it's not a 7-day-a-week pharmacy. So you don't have, while Milk River does have a grocery store and does have medical facilities,
it doesn't have some staples that.
Yeah, it's not, doesn't have the things that make it, so all of the people who work here at the border have the choice of claiming distance and driving back and forth each day to Lethbridge.
So what's the major industry in town then? What's the major industry in the village then?
Retirement.
Is that really what it is?
There are some folks here who still farm.
Okay.
There are people who work at the brokerages.
Okay.
But brokerages are becoming more and more electronic.
Yeah. Everything's going online.
So that's the majority of it. Some people work in Milk River.
So do you find that most people who go on council in Coutts are, and I'm going to paint a very broad stroke, and I feel like the emails are about to get sent in the moment I say this, are older retirees who are just looking for something to do part-time and okay with just sitting on council once or twice a month?
No.
Ooh, okay.
No, and I hope I don't fit in there either. But
you don't. You do not, Jim.
Our council right now is made up of 2 retirees, one bank manager, and one brokerage worker.
Okay.
So, and the retirees are far from sitting on the council, and like our mayor, Scott McCumber, is very involved in the medical circus that rural hospitals find themselves in. And if it wasn't for him and the efforts that he puts in there, the medical facility in Milk River, and the fact that we've got still operating and having some days 2 doctors, and you're able to carry on with that in a functioning emergency department. A lot of that credit goes to him and his efforts outside of the job here in council.
So getting back to the original question about knowing that 100% of the people are never going to be in favor, with the diverse nature of what Coutts is, whether that be brokerage, bankers, retirees, some people who may be farmers, how do you make the best decisions for the entire community, knowing that, again, not 100% of the people are ever going to be in favor of it? Is it hard to do that in a small community? Because I can imagine people know who you are rather than who their MLA is or their MP is. I'm not saying they don't. I'm just saying that because you are in your community 24/7, your MP, I believe, lives in Medicine Hat, if I'm not mistaken, or in the Medicine Hat area.
MP lives in Medicine Hat.
And your MLA, I don't know who it is. I think it's Grant Hunter. Yeah. So again, he lives over on the Tabor area, so he's not in Coutts 24/7. Not saying that's a bad thing. It's just the nature of the gambit. How do you make those decisions knowing that people are just going to be upset with you?
Some days you just plug your nose and cover your ears and go ahead and do things.
Do you get a sense that people understand what's going on in the community?
Yeah, I do. I think I started talking about the fact that people would like to have the things that are required, and they're all tied together, and they're trying to communicate the fact that if I want a convenience store, I've got to have somebody, first of all, that manages the thing. They have to have employees. That means that you have to have people here. If they hire somebody and say, yeah, we got a place to rent, you've got to have housing. In order to have housing, some of the lots that are in town that have dead buildings on them, if you would take the initiative and tear that thing down and build a house on spec, somebody will come and buy it. We see everything that goes up for sale here sells right away. So it's all interlocked, intertwined. If you've got to get back to critical mass, and we're not there. We're far from it. So we have to build the population. And in
So
order
how do you attract people then? Is that a hard thing to do? Because you're not alone you're not alone being the only municipality who's having population issues. More and more younger people are not moving out to Coutts or to Milk River or Oyen, Alberta. I'm just randomly picking names.
Yeah.
Please don't think that I'm picking on these municipalities, that they're going to Lethbridge, they're going to Grand Prairie, they're going to the larger urban centers. So the smaller communities aren't seeing the influx of younger generations who want to build a family out here. How do you attract them? Is it just you need more housing and you need developers to come and build, or is there a magic sauce that you're looking at?
Well, up until what was the date that Mr. Trump became president?
Which time? The first or second?
Second time.
January 21st, 2025.
Yeah,
like
things-
3.5 months ago.
Things have changed since then. So what was happening in the village at the time was we would see some people moved in who were basically snowbirds who were looking for a place for when they weren't camped in Arizona.
Yeah.
They wanted a place to live that was close to the border. Obviously, property values here are depressed because of all of our, for the most part, all of our residences are older. And while they are well maintained, they're still, you're not buying a brand new home in Coutts, which you should be. But I could talk to you all day about things that aren't the way that I like them. And they haven't gone the way that I wanted them to.
Do you see a silver lining, though? Or with everything that's gone on south of the border, are places like Coutts kind of up in the air right now? Because this is the very first time I've traveled to Coutts, Alberta, where I did not see a throng of vehicles coming with me. Like, I got past Sterling, and it just seemed like I was the only one on the road. Yet again, I was driving in the middle of a snowstorm, so I can't really say that that's a blessing or a curse. But it seems like the travel to the south is gone, and people.
Yeah, I haven't talked to anybody at the border about it, but I mean, you can look at the duty-free parking lot.
Do you get access to that? You talk about needing a convenience store. Residents of Coutts don't get to use that, do they?
No, you don't buy anything there unless you're going south with it. But the duty-free is the parking lot. I haven't seen a car in there for a while. I talked to someone at a meeting last night who said that they had an occasion they had to run down into Montana in the last couple of the last week or so. And there was nobody in the car line going south. He said coming north, there was 3 lanes of traffic and all
Wow.
It was people fleeing. I said making their escape, but that's not very nice.
Well, I know we didn't mention this at the top of the hour, but you were born in America and you fled America too. A little bit later in time than most people are doing it.
Yeah,
But
well, I saw the light. I chose to move to Canada and become a Canadian citizen.
that's good. I have one last question in this area, and then I want to turn to Coutts as a whole, because there's a few questions I have about Coutts and what the challenges and opportunities are and the accomplishments that you have going for you. We live in a very apathetic time right now, and I say that knowing that I'm painting a broad stroke. If I went outside this town hall right now and I went downtown and I caught up with about 10 people and I asked them the same question, what does the municipality do? Would they be able to answer that? Because I get a sense in Canada that we talk about your MP and your MLA not being in your community, but people will come to you and say, I have a federal issue. And I know this is a weird village to say that in, because you would literally have a federal port right outside your town hall. But there's probably a higher chance that people are coming to talk to you about education, talk to you about healthcare, talk to you about road conditions, which major highways is a provincial issue, border crossing, it's a federal issue. Do you get a sense in Coutts that people understand that if I have a federal issue, I go to my MP. If I have a provincial issue, I go to my MLA. If I have a municipal issue, I go to my municipal councillor? Or are they coming to you to just fix it?
Actually, the way municipal politics works, they come and talk to the CAO.
Oh, so they don't even come to you?
Well, if you run into somebody, it's very, I think in the, approaching 8 years that I've been on council now, I've not had a phone call from a constituent.
What?
They've phoned Lori. Phone the CAO.
Okay, good for them.
And the CAO is the one solid reference that everyone has, especially in Lori's case, because she's been here for
some time now.
A long time, yeah. And so everybody just asks Lori, The municipality is responsible, of course, for water, sewer,
snow removal, firefighters,
and we get thank yous for the snow removal.
And I'm assuming you get a few curses for snow removal as well.
Well, yeah, if you don't, we got some complaints once because we didn't get the snow removed fast enough. But when you've got two people and one's off sick, well, it's a little difficult. But no,
they usually come to Lori?
The usual thing, but if somebody's got a complaint, ordinarily they come to Lori. I had one gentleman show up on my front door, once, who was having problems with the neighbor and cats and so on. But
tale as old as time.
And we have a lot of complaints, like small animal complaints and that kind of thing.
But there's no provincial issue that's burning in Coutts right now that people come to you and say, we need to fix this. We need to...
Provincial issue? No.
No. Okay. Oh, good to know.
No.
I want to turn to the Coutts as a whole now, and I'm going to preface this and just bear with me while I try to remember the complete rant that I need to give. This is a conversation between the councillor and myself. This is not a motion of council, not a direction of council, not a policy of council. This is the councillor's opinion and his opinion alone. That being said, it may line up with what's going on at council, but at the end of the day, he needs a majority of councillors around this table to vote for a certain issue to move it forward. So again, this is his opinion and his opinion alone. For those who are about to send emails, do not send them to councillor, send them to me, and I will file them in the appropriate location. That being
You've practiced it.
Oh, I've done 800 of these and I've practiced enough. Okay, with that being said, councillor, In your opinion, I think I know where the conversation is going to go, but it's going to be interesting to hear from you. In your opinion, what do you see as the biggest challenge or challenges facing the village of Coutts today, as of recording this at the beginning of April 2025?
The biggest challenge, and most people don't know this yet, but is going to be finances, because the province is offloading more and more of the cost of things to the municipalities and reducing at the same time the grant money that comes into the municipality. So that where they're calling it the LGFF now, which is
Municipal MSI funding or whatever Stelmach added.
It's been reduced.
Yeah.
And they said, well, we're going to tie it to population
and resources.
And to the provincial finances. But they started at a lower level, so it doesn't matter. We're stuck down here now. At the same time, things like education tax are going up 15 or 16%, and that we get blamed for.
Yep.
Because it shows up on your municipal tax bill, and most folks don't get any farther than saying, oh, the village increased my taxes.
Oh, they look at the bottom line, right? They look at the number that says how much they owe that year, and then they go, okay,
yeah,
the village, the town, the municipality has screwed me over this year, which you're right. The province has offloaded a pretty big expense onto municipalities. I think some are even up to 11% property tax, and that's solely based on education portion of it.
Yeah, and we haven't seen our policing bill yet either.
Well, why would you have a policing bill?
Because
are you RCMP?
We're RCMP.
But why would you get a bill? Because
everybody gets a bill.
I thought it was only under 5,000 or over 5,000. Did that change?
As far as I know, that we can go talk to Lori later.
We'll go chat with Lori right after this. Well, that's okay.
Yeah, but our policing costs we get a bill for it every
year. So have you passed your budget yet?
No.
So by the time we're recording this on April 3rd, they have not passed their budget. Just to let you know, if you're listening to this later, that might change by the time you're listening to this. But on April 3rd at 11:22 a.m. in the morning, we have not passed the budget. Was this budget the hardest that you've had to do in the last 7-8 years that you've been on council?
I'm just trying to think if we passed the budget or not. I want to make that statement.
Okay. We might not have passed the budget, but we might have passed the budget. We're not 100% sure, but we'll get back to you on that.
Yeah,
but looking at the budget this year, because this has been a very tough year for a lot of people. And I say a lot of people as in residents. And affordability is the top of mind for a lot of people right now. Municipalities play a role in dictating the affordability challenges that people have. You talk about the financial challenge that the village is under right now, the sort of the red line of the viability of your community. How do you grow your community? How do you continue your community by doing it not on the backs of the people of your community? Because I would imagine you know a few people in this community, or may not, that are living paycheck to paycheck, dollar to dollar, and 1% tax increase, 0.5% tax increase, 12% tax increase, that affects people's pocketbooks.
Yep.
Is it hard?
Well, yeah.
Does it get easier after 8 years in office to make those tough decisions?
I would have to say I'm conflicted because I know in here what needs to be done in the community, and I realize a failing in myself, if you will, as a leader, and that I have not pushed more. As I was mayor, I did not push more. And as a counselor now, well, I was off for the last 3 months with health issues, but that's a current
That's here in Northern Ontario.
excuse. Yeah. But we talked about the bylaw that we got in for taking care of derelict properties, which is a step toward making this a place that people want to live and making property values come up and all of the things that make it more viable. And I didn't push. I haven't pushed. There are things that I'm not going to say.
Okay.
But I.
So can I flip the question a little bit here
Yeah.
for you? Every community has its challenges.
Yeah.
Coutts is not alone.
No.
What's the thing you look at your community and you say, this is what we have going right for us? This is the thing that when we look at the challenges that we've had to overcome, the challenges that we are overcoming, this is what we've got going for us. What is that thing that Coutts has going for it in the minds of Councillor Willett?
The thing that it's got going for it, I guess, is that there is still a sense of community. There's still the small town Alberta thing that you hear about all the time. But if somebody needs something, you know that they can go to their neighbor, and their neighbor will in most cases give them some help, or somebody down the street knows somebody, and it's that because we are, well, in a sense, I know we're isolated in this community because most of our necessities are in Milk River. You've got to go to Milk River for a jug of milk. The lumber yard is there. If you want to fix something, you've got to go there. There's if you need gas, you need car repairs, anything of that nature. We're a bedroom community for Milk River is what it is. And so then it becomes a sense of if somebody's got got a bandage. They came home from the hospital before they should have, and their leg is bleeding, and they need some tape or something. They know that 2 doors down lives a nurse, and they can run down, and it's the kind of where you knock on somebody's door and they actually come to the door.
Wow.
There's a sense of neighborliness. Yeah, that's easy.
Neighborly.
Neighborliness.
So the one accomplishment that I want to talk about, and I think it's an important one, because when doing research a few years ago on Coutts, I learned that you're probably the best to inform me on this. Is it true that the Coutts Fire Department responds to fires in Sweetgrass?
Yeah.
So that must be great that you have a relationship with Sweetgrass and even the county of Warner, the village, the town of Milk River, that you're able to rely on so many people in the surrounding area. Like that doesn't come across a lot in other municipalities. So what's the special sauce down here that makes you guys like friendly?
Well, the fire department, like our volunteer fire department, is not just Coutts, but it's Coutts and area. So
Yeah.
we run in all directions. If we have a big enough fire here, we'll get a truck out of Milk River as well. And as you mentioned, Sweetgrass, we can get through the border quickly with could.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Who knows now?
Yeah.
But
And we have an ambulance, which is restricted to town, and that goes back to AHS.
But that goes all the way up to Lethbridge
Yeah.
or Milk River.
Yeah, but again, we have first responders who are all volunteer, who are. That's one of the things that council has accomplished, is getting more money for the volunteer fire department, getting their turnout gear up to date. In the last year, and that's one of those retired counselors that's been working on that. Steve has done a fine.
I'm not going to live that down at my accounts.
But those are the things we do, and that's something that the community does, or the municipality does as well.
Yeah.
The thing that's going to bite us, and does occasionally, is the fact that infrastructure like water and sewer are all built in the 60s, so they're past their best by date. You've seen what happens with that on a bigger scale in Calgary.
I lived it because those 2 weeks of me not being able to shower were not that good.
Our water comes from Milk River now, and their water comes from the Milk River, which we all know what's happened in the States, where they're working on the bypass to get everything back together again.
Yeah.
But very dependent on infrastructure. Anyway, I forget where we were going again.
You about the relationships.
Yeah.
Because it seems like you guys
that's the biggest thing about the community. Why people would want to stay here is because they know their neighbors know them. It's comfortable in that way. They know if I know if I'm out of town and have my dogs with me, so nobody's looking at the house. My neighbor across the alley has an eye on it,
Yeah.
or the lady 2 doors down walks by every day, or anything out of line is taken care of. We don't have neighborhood watch, but we have neighborhood watch on a grand scale, I guess.
You are the neighborhood watch.
We are the neighborhood watch.
I want to step back from council for a second and talk about the role of councillor for a second, because this year is an important year in Alberta. This year, in October, municipalities across Alberta will be heading to the polls to elect a brand new council. Now, I've got to ask the very simple question. I think you're prepared for it, but I want to make sure I do it correctly. Have you made up your mind about running for a third term in October yet? Or are you still, with everything that you said, you talked about your health challenges, are you apprehensive right now to say anything?
I wouldn't say I'm apprehensive. I'm just unsure.
Okay.
I had open heart surgery in January, and I'm recuperating. I had some problems we won't go into.
You had open heart surgery 3 months ago, and we're doing this. That's the great thing about cross-border interviews. We get all the good interviews right after surgeries.
I'll tell you a story later. But anyway, I'm feeling better day by day. Yep. So if you had asked me this question back the end of last year when I was in AFib and dragging around, it would have been a definite no. But now I'm kind of testing the waters. I want to see, first of all, I want to make sure that we have enough people running. Sometimes, and I don't want to run just out of necessity, but we don't want to lose that viability there either.
One of the things that I often hear from municipal leaders when making that decision is they've lost the passion. The ones who've decided that they're going to step back or retire is they've lost their passion. They've lost their get up and go and try to make your community better. But it seems like you still have that going for you. It seems like you have that passion for Coutts. You seem to have that passion to want to make your community better. So it doesn't seem like you're completely off the trade. It just means that you're...
You sound like my wife now.
Not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Which wife? Well, wife one or two?
Oh, definitely two. No, it's the...
Do you still have the same passion for municipal life from when you first got elected?
There are things here. I've talked to some people who've moved to town in the last 2 or 3 months, years, that are expressing an interest to run on council. And I've worked with them so that they know what's going on. And I think that, and they're younger, I think that the possibility exists that we can build with change the nucleus a little bit and get people who aren't burned out. I think that's an expression a lot of people, well, they've just really burned out. And you're talking about the passion. And I'd be lying if I said that there weren't days that I got up and said, well, why am I bothering? But on the other hand...
Can I ask a very pointed question and tell me if I go over bounds? And if I do, just let me go. We all know what happened in Coutts a few years ago.
What's that?
I don't know, but I spoke to many municipal leaders who would have not ever wanted to be in the position that your municipality was in with the blockades. Was it hard to get up after that? To continue on with everything, with the spotlight that was on Coutts, with the press sort of hounding Coutts?
Yeah, I went through some rough times there. I had a couple of people who would say that it sounded like I had PTSD, but I went through, I don't want to say that's not a formal diagnosis. But I was under a cloud there for a while.
Yeah.
But I also had COVID during that last week of that, so part of that could be related to that.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's been way too much said about the whole thing and about how the community was split, and I didn't.
Oh, and I'm not even talking about that part.
But I know. But what I mean is that is one of the things that makes it difficult to say, well, yeah,
I'm going to put my name on the ballot, or I'm not going to put the name.
Yeah. And would there be any point in putting my name on the ballot because nobody might vote for me? So it's, but on the other hand, because of council, I became the chair of South Grove, the RETA.
Yep.
And I pat myself on the back there. We've accomplished some great things. I have relations with the fact that I can pick up the phone and I can talk to somebody in Edmonton and they know who I am because of the
challenges that your community faced.
Well, not just that. I mean, yeah, sometimes it's because of the community challenges, but because of the fact that I've spent time in Edmonton and I've talked to different people and I know people in government and I know the MLA and I know the MP and we've spent time together. That has to have some value, and it's the kind of thing that I don't want to just go home and sit in my chair and wait for my TV to work.
Now you sound like me.
Well, yeah, you've got your own.
What's the one piece of advice you wish you would have had prior to entering into municipal life that you could instill upon other municipal leaders? Take out the challenges that you face, but what's one thing you wish you would have known that you wish other municipal leaders who are about to get involved? Because you're a rare breed. You're one of the very few municipal leaders I've talked to that have actually said they went to council meetings prior to getting on council. You don't get that these days. Oh. What would you tell the next generation of leaders to do prior to entering into municipal life?
Do your research. Uh, the
Couldn't have said it better myself there, Jim.
no municipal learn that municipal politics is based on a very strict set of regulations.
Yep.
The Municipal Government Act.
What? I haven't heard of this MGA. What are you talking about?
That there are the way municipal politics works is yes, you're the elected representative of the community, but you have one employee who is your CAO, and all of the administration is done out of the front office.
Yeah.
I'm not an administrator. None of the other councilors are administrators. We have things that we want done, and as a group, we go to our employee and say, this is what we'd like done, and then they do the administration. It's not me that goes out and tells the employee how to mow the grass or sweep the, So it's a very definite, something that you need to realize is that you're not the Lord of all, you're just the representative of the people, and you're trying to make decisions that at the end of the day make it a better place to live for the majority.
Have you enjoyed it? Your time in office?
Yeah, 80%.
Okay. I have one last question for you because I'm cautious of time, and I told you an hour, and we're almost at the hour mark. So we've talked about some very big things today: challenges, opportunities, life of council, derelict buildings. But what, in your mind, makes Coutts such a unique place to live, to work, and to raise a family?
Well, never having lived in another small community, it's hard for me to say exactly what makes it unique. I think we're unique in the fact that Coutts is history. It's been here since 1890, and as it had its ups and downs, it was a refinery town. It's people that live here, a lot of them have roots that go all the way back to those days, and they've seen the ups and downs of the community. But at the end of the day, because of our uniqueness, we're able to survive. We have a bunch of pretty good people. It's a good location as far as in normal circumstances. Well, who knows what this could be the new norm, I guess.
Yeah.
But used to be pretty good. You could run across the border and pick up your order from Amazon.com and come back across, pick up some gas on the other side, have a beer with somebody in the bar, and come back to the community. People still have those relationships, even though the times have changed the availability. It's just it's a neat little place. The climate is good. The wind never blows, and the people are good, down to earth, small town people.
They certainly are. I met one of them while I was taking a photo of your Coutts sign, and they asked me where I was from. I said Calgary. Told them I was coming out to see here, and they said, well, make sure you say hi. So I don't know what the gentleman's name was. He was a young guy, but he said to say hi to you because he knew who you were. So Jim, Councillor, I want to thank you so much for sitting down with me and talking about Coutts and talking about yourself. I learned so much doing these interviews, and I have newfound respect for municipal leaders from across Canada when I chat with each individual person. So thank you so much for doing this.
Well, thank you for considering me. Like I said, I could have talked to you 24 hours.
We'll do part 2 next week.
Okay.
Thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of Cross Border Interviews. Now, if you enjoyed today's conversation and gained some valuable insights, be sure to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast platform or on YouTube. And if you can, follow us on all the social media channels at Cross Border Network. Now, to learn more about the communities and the people we feature on this show and our sister shows, please visit us online at crossborderinterviews.ca. Now, your support means the world to us, so share this episode with your friends, your family, and yes, even your community, and help keep the conversation going. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and we'll be back with a brand new episode of Cross Border Interviews soon.